Hey guys, it's Otto here, back with another video. So if you are an Ecom email agency owner or you're interested in delivering Klaviyo services or launching and scaling an Ecom email agency, then what I'm going to do in this video is reveal the 3 worst objections that you can be hit with on your sales calls with brands, why you get hit with them, and specifically what you need to say in order to overcome them and fill your brands and prospective clients with trust enough that they will actually work with you as a client. Okay, so this is typically in the scenario where you start to pitch your services, you talk about how good you are and all of your social proof and all of the case studies you've got, whatever it might be, and then your client says this. Okay, now number 1, the first objection that you will find is that an ecom brand owner will say, when you start to pitch Klaviyo and email and SMS retention services, we already do all of that. We do email blasts and it doesn't work. Okay, it doesn't work. Now I couldn't count the number of times that I've sat in client pitches with new prospective brands where they have said that. Okay, so when we talk about the service that we deliver, that we talk about our ESP and Klaviyo and how we'll increase the lifetime value of your existing customer base and how it doesn't require you to spend a penny on ads or whatever it might be, and we can increase your revenues, your placed order rates on a monthly recurring basis from 30% to 45% or 50%, whatever it might be. This is a common objection that you will find you will be hit with, okay? So whether you've done these calls yet or not, right? So here's what you need to do, and here's what you need to say when a client says this to you, okay? So you've pitched your services and the client says, we already do all of that, we don't need it, okay? So your job as a agency owner or as a salesperson is to get to the root of the objection, okay? So you've probably heard the phrase that the prospect lies, okay? And it's not that the brand owner and the decision maker is lying to you consciously or intentionally. It's a immediate defense mechanism that they've got in place that helps them basically protect their attention and their time so that they can wean out, bad requests from good requests, all right? And what this comes down to is your ability to push that client, that prospective client, through a series of open-ended questions that actually help you get the information you need so that the real reason for their objection is revealed, okay? So it might not be that they don't do anything, it actually might be that they just don't know who you are, or they've not read your email or looked at your landing page and they don't actually know what you are going to do. They think you're a Facebook ads agency or you do SEO, okay? There's too much ambiguity, and that's the problem you need to overcome, and then you can take the steps to overcome that, okay? So the first step here when the client says to you, we already do all of that, is to ask them open-ended questions, okay? So when we do this in our sales process, and I haven't added the arrows here, we'll just add those in real quick so this all makes sense here. But the first thing that we will say is, that's really interesting. Okay, tell me a little bit more about what you are doing. Now you will find a range of answers, okay? So the client will come back to you with a range of answers, and you might get one client say to you, well, I know we do all of it and we do email blasts and they don't work and we've wasted money on it, and we had an agency and we don't know what they did, okay? If you get a response like that, it's your job to maintain frame, keep the positivity and momentum up, and to continue asking them more open-ended questions. You haven't gotten to the root of the cause, okay? That's really interesting. What type of agency did you work with? Oh, I don't know, they were an email agency. Oh, that's interesting. Whereabouts were they based? Were they in the country where you are? Were they local? Was it a friend? Well, no, it wasn't really an agency. It was my brother, okay? He did some freelance work and he said he was going to do it. Okay, that's interesting. So did your brother come from an ecom email background? Is he like a technical expert with Klaviyo? What was his role? What did you kind of task him with in the brand when it comes to growth and his objectives? Oh, well, I didn't really. He just did a range of things. Okay, that's really interesting. So is it possible that, and you can see I'm getting deep into role playing this now because it's so natural, having done so many of these calls, but that's where you need to take the line of questioning. Okay, so to continue that line of questioning, you could say, I forget where we were now, but that's really interesting. What else was he doing? Was he doing Facebook ads? Oh yeah, we did Facebook ads. They don't work. Okay, no problem. That's really good to know. Obviously what we're doing doesn't require an ad spend, so that's good box ticked from the off. Okay, so that's the kind of mentality that you have to have. All right, and when it comes to open-ended questions, you have to actually get some sort of specificity. Okay, so what did they do? And even when you get a response that is relatively coherent and relatively detailed, for example, oh, actually, we have a campaign calendar. We send out 2 campaigns a week, and it's still going to be very difficult for you to actually understand physically and tangibly what they are doing when it comes to email and SMS. Okay, so when you're asking these questions, you want to say, what about the flows? What flows do you have? Okay, that's interesting. Foundational flows or advanced flows? What about third-party integrations? How do you get your reviews? How are the flows performing? What offers do you have? Obviously, as an ecom brand, you're always wanting to maximize your profit margins. And I understand that actually having flows where you're, trying to get people to grow your list, you're trying to grow your list and get people to sign up, you're giving them discounts, that actually erodes your margins, and that's not good as an ecom brand owner, okay? This is a line of questioning you need to go down. When you've talked about flows, talk about campaigns. How often? What type? You're talking about doing email blasts, and here's a quick tip. If they ever mention the words email blast, then that means they are not doing email marketing correctly for their brand. Okay, so when it comes down to the types of emails, what types? Single product promos or multiple product promos? How many SKUs are you, promoting in those emails? What about brand builder type of emails? Individual sales, discounts, newsletters, whatever it might be. Okay, so this is to get the lie of the land, and this is to get to the kind of root of actually specifically what they're doing. But you won't know specifically what the client actually has in place until you can see it for your own eyes. So what you can do after this process and after having built trust on your initial call is to actually request access to their email service provider. Okay, so hopefully and typically it will be Klaviyo access, it will be their Klaviyo account, and you will say to them, look, if you would be comfortable, and what I would like to do free of charge, absolutely no obligation, is just take a quick look at what you actually are doing. And what I'm going to do is come back to you within 24 hours. I might even move a call today to do it. And what I'm going to do is actually just give you a couple of bullet points on, a couple of key technical changes you could make to make things better. All right. I noticed a couple of things about your abandoned cart flow and your welcome series email. That's why we're having this conversation now. From desktop research, I think I can add value to what you're doing, but I won't know until I actually get to see specifically what you're doing. Okay. And what I'm going to ask for is just analyst access. So here's the instructions, and I always recommend doing this. Okay. Don't just leave it up to the prospect to then go away and be diligent and remember what you've asked for, because the value exchange is off. All right, you're already asking for value from them. Okay, they've got to trust you, and in you asking and requiring for access, they're actually giving you something. Okay, so you might think that you're about to give them something, and that's where the value exchange lies. If you're doing this, you're actually asking for something from them up front. Okay, and that's an important thing to remember. So make sure you make it clear to them it's analyst access only. Okay, and this is how you do it. I'm going to send you an email. It's got a video walkthrough. It takes 10 seconds. It's 3 buttons you have to click, and this is how easy it is. And we're not going to have access to any billing. There's no control. We can't schedule your campaigns. It's literally going to let me see what you're doing on the flows and campaigns front, how your list growth has been over the last 90 days plus, whatever it might be. And like I say, I'm going to give you a very quick audit. I'm going to send this to you via email. It's going to be very simple and actionable. It's obviously free. There's no pressure or obligation. And look, if you like what you see in the email and you have budget for this and you want to discuss it, let's speak, tomorrow at 4 p.m. Get that in the diary now. Or otherwise, if you look at it and you think, actually, I want to do that in-house, then run with it. We're going to give you that for free. Okay. That's the kind of conversation you want to have with them. So when it comes to that first objection, we already do that. We don't need your help. We're doing it all the time. It doesn't work. This is how you overcome that objection. All right. Now, objection number 2 is about pricing and value. Okay. So as a marketer, as a salesperson and an agency owner, we are used to that kind of industry jargon of you just got to give value. Okay. When it comes to the B2B space and actually working with brands and not other marketers, okay, not other consumers in this agency marketing space, talking about value using that kind of frame and with that jargon doesn't make sense to the prospect. Okay, so if we see guys will literally say overtly, I would love to provide you with some free value up front. Can I have your email address and permission to do this? Okay. You've got to look at things psychologically. If you're doing that, you're already asking for something from the prospective client. Okay, you're talking about being valuable, but actually you're asking them for value in return. Okay, for nothing. Okay, so you've got to understand that when you're coming from ambiguity and they don't know who you are, it's important to actually give them value and not just say you're going to give them value, okay? So here's how you tackle this specific objection. And we've got one more very, very common and bad objection to go over next, which I'm going to show you exactly how to overcome, all right? So this is when you pitch your service and your client says to you, oh, well, we'll see about the price. What's the cost per email? We want to pay per email, okay? And obviously, if a client wants to pay per email, that isn't going to work for your business, okay? If you're going to bill $100 per email, it makes no sense in the context of email marketing to actually do that. But the reason that the client is doing this is because you haven't done enough to put materialness and physicality and a tangible perspective to the service and the transformation that you will be delivering for the client, okay? It's too esoteric, it's too ambiguous, it's too theoretical still at this stage. And the reason the client is asking you for this is that chances are they are interested and they are obviously engaged if they're asking about pricing, but they don't understand where that exchange of value lies. They don't know what their ROI is going to be from paying you, okay? So if you don't do a good enough job doing this and you pitch a 12K upfront infrastructure build or a 5K per month retainer before doing this, it's going to be very difficult to close it, okay? So this is how you overcome it. Now, the first step regards context, okay? So you have to actually establish with the prospect where their knowledge lies of the service that you're delivering, okay? So another way of saying that is, do they actually understand what you are going to do for them, okay? Do they understand? Do they, in their mind, do they think it's email blasts? Do they think it's graphic design? Do they think it's copywriting? Do they think it's automations and flows? And what they think, and the human brain can only process a small amount of information concurrently at any one point in time, they'll probably think of one thing. They'll pinpoint, one thing you've said in your sales process and conversation, or that's on your landing page, and that's what they will attribute to you. Okay, so you're watching this video and you probably pinpoint on me, Ecom email agency, email marketing, whereas there's obviously other things that I do with my business. All right, so it's your job to understand what you've kind of the environment and context you've created in your sales process. But what you want to do is make sure they actually understand what Ecom email services are, okay, and what it includes. All right. So what it is not is just an email. It's not an email blast. Okay. Ecom email involves a whole suite of services that you will be delivering for your client, and it's important that they know this, okay? So you can say that to them, like, look, we don't charge per email because obviously there's a huge amount that goes into actually generating the amount of revenue that we promise to generate you from Ecom and SMS retention infrastructure, okay? Optimization, there's continuous optimization that we have to make sure that we're doing to manage your list and to clean your list. When it comes down to campaigns, you might think it's one email, but actually campaign starts with ideation. What types of campaigns are we going to launch and why and when? It comes down to your offers. How can we actually increase the size of your list, increase lifetime values, and bring in a load of new placed orders with offers that don't further erode your profit margins, i.e. how do we do that without just giving bigger and bigger discounts, okay? Campaigns obviously include copy, all of the design templates, graphic design, scheduling, physically actually manually scheduling those campaigns and A/B testing them, okay? Same with designs. There's different types of emails. So the designs that you will have in your flows won't be the same for the designs that you have in your campaigns. And as an agency, we have 6 different types of campaigns that we run for our clients. Each one of those campaigns has a different design, okay? All of these designs are dynamic, right? So they're built from scratch. They're not built with a drag and drop block builder that you or I could build. They're actually done by our professional in-house graphic design team, okay? And designs again change with the seasons and updates, all right? Same with flows. We don't charge per email because each individual flow will have a set number of emails, and we want to have flexibility where we can plus or minus that. We might reduce it one month, we might add to it. We want to have an arrangement together where we can deliver the maximum amount of value, okay? So we don't want to say to you, well, you're paying for 3 emails in your welcome series, and actually if you had 6, that would 5x your placed order rates that month. But we're not going to do it because you're only paying per email, okay? No, we want to have a scope where we can actually take the initiative and continue to build value and add value to your brand and what you're doing, okay? Again, flows, copy, design, scheduling, smart sending, everything. within flows is something that you have to make it clear is apparent to the client, okay, and is what you're building for them. All right. Same for segmentation. This comes down to forms. Forms is a whole new different aspect and input and component of successful email marketing. You might just think it's a pop-up, but 101 thing goes into actually having conversion rates that are 6% plus, 12% plus, 20% plus. Okay. Having pop-ups that don't kind of erode your current customer base and their interest and kind of enthusiasm for your brand, how to make them not annoying, how to gamify them. All right, there's a million and one things that go into it. List growth, sale months and deliverability, okay, whether you're setting up a dedicated sending domain or not, all of the technical deliverability and setup stuff is important. And obviously sale months, okay, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, everything will change. All of your flows will change. Hopefully all of your forms, all of your campaigns will change. Your list building strategies will change. Your offers will change. Christmas, January and New Year sales, okay? So it's really important that you don't just hold this information in your head. You actually have to make it clear to your client, okay, of the value that you're delivering. And I think this is something that we struggle to do as marketers and as agency owners, is because we're in our heads all the time. We know this is what our service involves. We know how valuable it is. If you ever find yourself trying to beg or trying to convince your client of, we're just valuable and we charge based on value-based pricing, this is what you continually need to refer to, okay? So make sure the prospect, make sure the brand and the client knows actually what's involved, all right? And again, I've talked about this just now, flexibility. You want to have a commercial arrangement with your client that allows you both to have some sort of level of flexibility, okay? There needs to be room for scope creep. You need to have an idea, and you will become better at this the longer that you run your ecom email agency. You will become better at actually identifying which clients and which Klaviyo accounts will need a bit of a buffer, a bit of a slush fund, that you'll be able to lean into on key sale months or whatever it might be to continue delivering value to that client, okay? Now, the third worst objection and most common objection, and I probably should make a whole new video on this because this is huge, okay? But the third and final objection here is, what about attribution? Okay, so i.e. tracking. How am I going to be able to see ROI? How are you going to demonstrate the return on my investment as a brand owner? I'm giving you all this money. How are you going to show me what you are doing is actually generating money with any level and degree of accuracy? Okay, now what this comes down to is a big problem. Okay, and it's a big problem with in the ecom vertical and space and with any brand, but also on the B2B side of things too, that any company is looking for a single source of truth when it comes to attribution. Okay, and what attribution comes down to is basically where are your sales coming from? Where are the results being generated from? Is it LinkedIn? Is it TikTok? Is it Facebook ads? Is it Google? Is it your blogs? Is it SEO? Is it your affiliates, your sales reps? Is it orders on the phones? Whatever it might be. And the reason that that's so important for brands is twofold, okay? The first one is that they obviously want to cut the marketing channels and the sales channels that aren't working for them, so they can take resources away from that and allocate those towards the channels that they can double down on and that are best producing results for them, consolidating their budget, their focus, their time and their attention. But the second issue, the second reason, moreover here, is that a lot of brands have outside investors, okay? And it's very important for the brand owner and the CEO. It's imperative that they can actually understand this at a top level and be able to go out to their investors, whether they're doing it themselves as a founder or with help from their team and their, Crow experts, whatever it might be, to actually go to their investors and say, look, we are spending X on email marketing per month and it is generating Y, okay? And if you basically have a relationship with that client and you're delivering the service in a way that they are spending X and it's dramatically higher than Y for any long pronounced period of time, then they're going to get rid of you, okay? The investors are going to say, this doesn't make sense, cut it, all right? This game is very fickle, okay? But I'm going to show you how you can overcome this here, all right? So when it comes to attribution, brands want a single source of truth. They want to be able to look at one sheet, one program, and to say, okay, Google ads don't work, cut the budget. Facebook ads do work, keep the budget this month. Email marketing doesn't work, cut it, okay? And what I'm going to show you now is how you can basically avoid ever being in that situation. Now, the first thing to realize is that that single source of truth will differ. Okay, so typically brands will use Google Analytics, they will look at data from Shopify, and when it comes to email and SMS retention efforts, they'll look at Klaviyo. Okay, but the problem here, and this is unanimous with between any ecom brand and any company, arguably, is that those individuals, those company owners, those brand owners will look at each platform as that single source of truth. So they will say, I believe Google Analytics. Now, what's the problem? Because Shopify isn't matching Google Analytics and there's an issue there, okay? So then they will go to their Shopify agency or their web developers or whoever's managing their Shopify store, and they will say, you're doing something wrong because Google Analytics is showing this, it tracks everything, we've set it up perfectly, but you're telling me this, all right? And you've got to explain that. Same with Klaviyo, okay? So you will have clients that will say, I don't understand because you're telling me one thing every 2 weeks when we have our bi-weekly update reporting calls. You're telling me that you're generating X per email. You're telling me that the email campaign that you sent out as an agency on, Monday the 16th or whatever it might be, generated $2,000 in revenue. But actually, Shopify is showing for that day it was $1,400. Now, why is the discrepancy? What are you doing wrong? Now, the first thing you need to understand here, okay, is that it is not your job to give them this answer, all right? It is not your job to solve the ecom brand's wider attribution problem within the services that you're providing, okay? I'll say it again. It is not your job to solve their attribution problem, all right? And the way that you overcome this is by doing what I'm about to tell you, all right? So here's the solution. The first one is to set the context, okay? So Klaviyo and Shopify have what's called a direct data feed. So all of the information that's being plugged into Klaviyo comes directly from Shopify, which is your clients and your brand's ecom platform that they are set up on. That data is indisputable, okay? So the data from Shopify to Klaviyo is going to be irrefutable. It's not, there's no middleman, there's no third party that will report, from one tool to the next. Ones and zeros in the data, okay? Whereas when it comes to Google Analytics, oftentimes, and other third-party analytics tools, oftentimes the utility of the tool and how accurate it is and how valid it is depends on how well it's been set up, okay? So how well is the tracking in place? Now, because setting up Google Analytics is a whole skill set in itself, if the company has done that a long time ago or they've done it with somebody who doesn't know how to do it properly, chances are there's going to be a huge discrepancy in the data. So what you need to make it clear to your prospective client early days is that you will report to them as much as you want and as much as they require, but the only stipulation is that you report natively. Okay, so what that means is that you are what's the word? Singular, one platform, singularly focused, okay? So you don't go into Shopify and edit their product descriptions or whatever it might be. Your skill set and what you're best at doing is within the confines of Klaviyo as a platform, okay? And that's the context in which you provide all of your reporting and all of your data, okay? So you can give that to them. You can give them recommendations on how to manage their attribution issues, but it's not your job to solve it, okay? Now, the second point here is just demonstrate some understanding, okay? So now that I've explained this to you, if you weren't aware of this problem, you don't know what you don't know, which is understandable, just demonstrate some sort of understanding, listening, and goodwill, okay? So say to them, look, I know as an ecom brand owner, there's kind of two universal truths with ecom brands, okay? The first one is margins, and any type of marketing, if you offer 99% discounts, chances are you're going to generate sales, but it will drive your ecom brand into the ground, okay? You're not going to make any money from that. So margins and managing margins alongside appropriate offers that don't erode away margins even further in order to build lists and generate more sales is something that is always at the forefront of an ecom brand owner's mind, okay? The second one is attribution. Okay, so talk about these. Talk about the elephant in the room. Talk about margin issues and that you work in a way that doesn't erode their margins, doesn't take any ad spend, X, Y, Z, whatever it might be. But also talk about the attribution problem that they will inherently be dealing with, and this is something they will be dealing with over the duration and lifespan of their brand. Okay, they'll be dealing with it forever. As they introduce new marketing channels, whatever it might be, it will always be an issue for them, okay? It's not your responsibility to solve this. I'll say it again for a fourth time. But just demonstrate goodwill. So say to them, look, if we had a silver bullet, if we could solve your attribution problems, if we could give you that single source of truth, we would do. But we're not an attribution expert. That's not what we do, okay? Now, the third point here to overcome this objection is to set expectations. So one thing you just want to talk about very cleanly with them is the fact that Klaviyo operates on what's called a last touch attribution model, okay? What that means is that within 7 days for email and 24 hours for SMS, if that is the last touch point with that customer and then they make a purchase, that purchase will be attributed to that individual campaign. So whether it's an email 7 days or an SMS 24 hours, okay? The key point here is that you can actually offer flexibility. We don't recommend you do it. Those attribution windows are set there for a reason. But if this is a key kind of friction point for you actually closing your client and pushing them through the sales process, say to them, look, it's not a big deal for us. We can be flexible. If you want to change this, we can. And you might be able to do that, but that can be a conversation for a future date when you've actually closed them as a client, okay? A fourth and final point here is that along here, okay, so we could, if we would, sometimes what you can actually do, and this really is based on the leverage that you have as an agency owner. So if you've been in the game long enough, you can say to them, look, if you want a single source of truth, we will only work with you if you set up this analytics platform, okay? So you can use Ocean, Blue Whale, whatever it might be, and you can say to them, we will only work with you and report natively using that, okay? And chances are they might even be using Blue Whale or whatever tool they're using, okay? So 3 of the worst objections that you will ever come up against and butt heads with when it comes to pitching brand owners on calls. These are the 3 specific ways, or many ways, that you can overcome those. Let me know what you think about all of these strategies, whether you've tried them or not. Comment below to let me know. And also, if you've had any other types of objections, pop them below, and I can always make a video of how we would overcome those ourselves as an agency. All right, guys, hope that's been helpful, and we'll catch up in the next one. All right, cheers.